TFL EV is brought to you by Flow Charger, maker of reliable, high-quality charging stations for your electric vehicle.
Today you join me just north of Atlanta, Georgia for the first drive opportunity with the brand new Genesis GV70 EV. It's a 2023 model year, and this is our first chance to actually get behind the wheel. So let's take a look at everything that makes this GV70 EV unique and see how it drives. As you may have seen before, Roman and I actually had a chance to poke around an early prototype of the Electrified GV70 in California, but this is our first opportunity to drive it. And even though we've talked about the design, the interior, and a few of the early specs of this car, real quick, we'll just walk through some of the differences between this and the regular gas-powered GV70. And from the outside, there's really not much to distinguish it. Obviously, this grille here is filled in, so it's not an opening like it is in the regular GV70. And then around back, well, the rear is a little bit different, especially because it doesn't have exhaust pipes, obviously. Otherwise, it's relatively hard to distinguish from the standard GV70. They haven't even put any kind of badging on here that would tell you this is all electric. All right, boost mode, accelerating onto the street. This car is really not slow. I mean, our total output, even with boost mode on at 483 horsepower, is not quite as extreme as something like the EV6 GT at 576, but think about it though, 483 horsepower, that's a lot. It's really nice, luxurious power. You know, it gives you that power to get around anybody that you want to pass, but it's not breakneck sports car kind of acceleration. It's relatively gentle. This is a fun car to get on that throttle with. And here in sport mode, the gauge cluster has a slightly different look to it. Also have a My mode, and it's funny when you go between the different modes. So there's Eco, Comfort, Sport, and My, and you can in real time feel the bolsters in the seat adjust. When I go into Sport, it gets more aggressive, it wraps you more tightly. Stepping inside of the electric GV70, you find a very well-equipped interior. This is the top-of-the-line prestige model of the GV70 electric vehicle, and that means you get a few extra features, which we'll talk about. But in terms of materials and design, this is a truly phenomenal interior with some really impressive tech. Every electrified version of the GV70 comes standard with this 14.5-inch infotainment screen, as well as heated and ventilated seats, and you get this really nifty Genesis digital key that also allows you to use your fingerprint in order to access the vehicle. So some really cool features here. And let's just focus real quick on this instrument panel, because this might take a little bit of getting used to for some people because it is a touch sensitive screen. However, the nice thing here is that you actually have physical feedback. So when you tap the screen, it vibrates, letting you know that you've successfully pressed a button. Here in the center, you have a rotary style drive selector that Genesis says is inspired by jewelry. So that is where you get the decorative design for some of these elements here in the middle. But the switchgear on the car feels nice to the touch, mostly really high quality materials and switchgear. Of course, you have down here a wireless charger, as well as a few USB ports to charge up your phone. The 14.5-inch infotainment screen here on the Genesis is really responsive and an overall fairly easy system to use. You can pull up information about the car to see your battery state, get a little bit more information on what is going on with the vehicle, and you also have something down here called V2L. V2L stands for Vehicle to Load, and what that means is that you can use this car's battery as a massive power bank. So this comes in a box in the trunk, and it's basically an adapter that allows you to plug into the car's charge port here, and then you have access to a regular home style outlet. That way, if you want to power something with this car, you can. Speaking of charging, this GV70 is capable of an impressive 350 kilowatts of peak charging. Genesis claims that that is able to take this car from as much as 10 to 80% battery in as little as 18 minutes. And if you're charging on a level 2 charger, like the style that you would install at home, it would take about 7 hours to fill completely from 10 to 100% this 77.4 kilowatt hour battery. Once full, this car has an EPA rated range of 236 miles. Even though this Genesis GV70 is not specifically a handling car, it actually handles fairly well. It's got obviously a low center of gravity because of the battery, and although the body of this car looks very, very similar to the gas-powered GV70, there's a lot of changes that they've made even structurally with this electrified version, and Genesis claims that this is overall about 24% more rigid than the standard GV70. Now again, it's not a sports car, but it can hold its own on some windy roads. Actually makes it pretty entertaining to drive, that coupled with the acceleration here. Another nice thing is that standard, these cars are all-wheel drive, so if you want something that you can drive in the winter as well, you've got plenty of that capability built in here. Other standard features on this GV70 are these 20-inch wheels with a pretty unique design, and you also get adaptive suspension here that uses the camera systems as well as the navigation. This particular GV70 is optioned with the Prestige package, which is one of the only options that you can get on this car, and it gives you a few nice items such as these Napa leather seats that you can see here have this quilted pattern, and this interior is in the color Glacier White, which is only an option on the EV. But if you get the Prestige package, you also can get these copper accents here in the upholstery. The suede headliner that you see here, and a Lexicon audio system that also has active noise control for the cabin. The Prestige package also gets you the 3D gauge cluster. Here it's a 12.3-inch instrument cluster, and not everybody likes the 3D effect of it. But I think it's pretty cool. Now, one feature that the Key EV6 had that I enjoyed in that car a lot that's also here are these paddles on the steering wheel, which allow you to adjust how aggressive your regen is. So when set to 0, if I let off of the throttle, like right now, we're pretty much just coasting. However, I can make it such that if I let off, the car is actually slowing down hard. So I just let off the throttle and we're coming to a stop. And there's really everything in between. The fact that you can change that on the fly is really nice to have. I mean, if you're on some roads like this and you want to be able to let off and coast a little bit more because it's relatively flat right here, you can do that. But say you get up into the mountains, you don't want to be riding the brake pedal all the time, then you can make it so that you've got any amount of engine braking that you want or regeneration that you want. It's really a nice system to use. Let's go quickly into the back seat. Now, I am about 5'10", so not really tall, not really short, but I have a good amount of headroom, plenty of leg room. That's not an issue either, and it's not a bad place to sit. I've got a few nice features here. I do have my own climate vents and controls. I also have my own set of USB-A outlets. I do wish that these were USB-Cs because that's just where the industry and electronics are going. Also, another part of this being a Prestige model is that I get manual shades here in the back in case I want a little bit more privacy. Check this out. As the rear passenger, you can also move this seat forward if you want to give yourself a little bit of extra room, which is just a nice thing to include for the passenger. Ooh, here's another thing though. These seats do recline, so I can actually get pretty comfortable back here. Not only do I have shades and my own vents, but I can recline. I also like these chunky window switches that passengers have. Those are fun. Opening up the trunk is a bit of a strange procedure because usually you reach to the bottom of a lift gate to open it up, but the switch here is instead on the windshield wiper blade. So you might spend a little bit of time searching around for that if you haven't been back here before. And then it opens up to a decent sized trunk. Not super tall, but a good amount of space. You can fold down the seats here with levers on each side, and they don't fold quite flat, but considering the size of the vehicle, it's not a bad amount of space. One unfortunate thing in my eyes, though, is the lack of a spare tire. So up front, you do have a tire repair kit, but under here, it is just a little bit of extra storage. Under the hood, you have not that much. Even so, they do give you struts to keep the hood open, but you have your tire mobility kit, and then a little bit of storage. I'm not really sure what all you would put up here, but if you have a laptop that you want to put under your hood or something, there is just the tiniest amount of space under the hood. Now, with my polarized sunglasses on, I really almost can't tell that this car has a heads-up display at all. So if you like to wear polarized sunglasses, that's going to be something that's going to become less useful. But otherwise, I like the way that tech is implemented into this car. It doesn't beep at you for a lot of random things. Tech doesn't feel intrusive. It feels like it's there to help you and actually make your experience more luxurious. And a lot of it just kind of fades into the background, like the fact that there's active noise cancellation going on here in the cabin. A lot of electric cars, you hear tire noise, you hear things that you wouldn't otherwise notice because they're so quiet. In this, you hear just a little bit of wind noise, but otherwise, yeah, it's all happening in the background. It's a really nice car to be in, and the kind of thing that you could easily road trip, be very comfortable and very happy in, putting on a lot of miles. Now we have to get to pricing, and pricing is going to be the holdup, I'd say, for some people, because starting price, this is $65,850. And that's a far cry from the roundabout $43,000 that the gas-powered GV70 starts at. That being said, there are a lot of features that come standard with this. It is a more luxurious offering, but that's also a lot of money. And if you want to step up to the Prestige model, that's going to be $72,650. So they're both expensive vehicles. This is, though, also going to be the first Genesis branded vehicle that will be built outside of South Korea. For the US market, it's going to be manufactured in Montgomery, Alabama. So that means that it should be eligible for the full $7,500 tax credit. Even so, it's still an expensive vehicle, but they're arriving in dealerships pretty much right now. Now, that is all for this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and we'll see you all in the next video. Hopefully a lot more coming with this electrified GV70, like drag racing, range tests, so keep your eyes peeled, and we'll see you in the next.